Chapter 445. Of course, let's sign the contract first and then I'll send you 100 million renminbi. You can send it to me as soon as possible. Jiang Hai looked at Wang Yang in front of him and said very seriously, 375 million renminbi? This much RMB is equivalent to about 57.9 million US dollars. Jiang Hai has this much cash now, not to mention this is to help him level up faster. Not to mention spending 300 million renminbi, even if it costs 3 billion renminbi, he will spend it. After all, this is the foundation of his life in this world. About a month, I can send it to you in about a month. Wang Yang was about to go crazy when he heard Jiang Hai's words. Just now, he just invited Jiang Hai to come over out of courtesy, but he didn't expect to make a business worth hundreds of millions just like that. Although Fatty Wang's business was not small, his annual turnover as a second-hand dealer was less than 10 million. The shop could earn a few million, but these few million would have to be given away at the end of the year. Although Jiang Hai's business will cost him a lot of money, he will at least earn more than 100 million renminbi. This is equivalent to what he earns in 10 years. The most important thing is that after he gets this money he can do other things. He is really rich, very rich. Okay, 1 month it is. Send these things to the address I've given you. Hearing his words, Jiang Hai immediately said with a smile, and immediately asked Penelope to go to the shop next door to print the contract. Wang Yang immediately went to look for his lawyer. Initially his lawyer was quite arrogant when he came. After confirming that there are no problems with the contract, Jiang Hai and Wang Yang also signed it. Then Jiang Hai first transferred 100 million renminbi to Wang Yang's account. Of course, Wang Yang can also run away with this money, but in this case the goods, houses, shops, etc. in China will all belong to Jiang Hai. These things are worth almost 100 million renminbi. After everything is done, Wang Yang said that he would treat Jiang Hai to a meal, but Jiang Hai has something to do today, so he can only make an appointment tomorrow. After everything is confirmed, Jiang Hai and others left Wang Yang's shop. Of course, before leaving, Wang Yang gave each of them a small thing. The so-called small things were all worth tens of thousands of yuan. Qi Li got a pair of diamond earrings, Penelope got a ruby necklace, Delina and Marian got a Hetian jade talisman, Azalina got a jade bracelet, Feng Yunxian and Ai Xiaoxi originally wanted to choose a ring, but Wang Yang didn't want to waste any more time. Instead, he gave Wang Yang a pair of diamond earrings, Penelope got a ruby necklace, Delina and Marian got a jade talisman, Azalina got a jade bracelet, and Feng Yunxian and Ai Xiaoxi originally wanted to choose a ring. But after all, this was a gift from someone else, not bought by Jiang Hai. They can't wear a ring given by another man. So in the end, they each asked for a bracelet, and Jiang Hai casually took a jade token. As for Minister Qin, he is a construction worker. He won't take these things and he doesn't care about these things. But all in all, everyone is still very happy. Wang Yang sent Jiang Hai and others for a long time before he rushed back to the shop, ready to start working. He will definitely not let go of this business, and who knows if Jiang Hai, this rich man, will still want these things in the future. What if he went crazy one day and decided to turn his own villa into Hetian Yu's? Wouldn't he be in trouble then? After coming out of Wang Yang's shop, Jiang Hai and others are obviously in a good mood. At first, the only one who is a little unhappy is Qi Li because Jiang Hai spent hundreds of millions to buy a bunch of useless things. But seeing that Jiang Hai is happy, she didn't say anything. As the saying goes, money can't buy Jiang Hai's happiness. Then they walked around Panjiayuan and went to look at the street stalls there. Although they didn't get anything useful, Jiang Hai and others unknowingly spent more than 2,000 yuan to buy a bunch of small things. Since they are happy, they don't need to think too much. Seeing that Jiang Hai and others are happy, Minister Qin started to plan in his heart. Just as Jiang Hai thought, this guy indeed has something to do with Jiang Hai. Otherwise, as a dignified deputy minister, he would be crazy to accompany Jiang Hai to have fun. If he wants to show that he cares, he can just send a section chief or a director over. After all, Jiang Hai doesn't have any political status. But now, it seems that he might have to change his purpose. After walking around Panjiayuan, it was already noon. After everyone got back in the car, Minister Qin ordered everyone to go to the Daidu restaurant. This is because they said that they want to eat Tan family's dishes today, and Tan family's dishes are only available in the Daidu restaurant. Tan family's dishes are one of the famous official dishes in Wuxia. It was founded by the family of Tan Zongjuan, a bureaucrat at the end of the Qing dynasty. In 1874, Tan Zongjuan once took the imperial examination and entered the Hanlin Academy as an official, so this dish is also called the imperial examination. There is no branch in the country, only the Daidu restaurant has such a restaurant. Just like Li family's dishes, it is not something you can eat whenever you want to. Normally, if Jiang Hai and others want to eat, it is impossible to eat without making a reservation in advance. But Minister Qin is not an ordinary person. He was also ordered to come here by the higher-ups, so it is naturally impossible to make a reservation. When Jiang Hai and others arrived, they were already able to eat directly. However, when he opened the menu, Jiang Hai found that he was a little confused, because the dishes here are indeed a little. A little? Winner's Braised Wing 1688, Throne Seeker 1688, Oolong Stepping in Green 1688, Royal Red Crown Swallow 1688, Garlic Skirt 1688, 3 Stewed Blood Swallow 1688, Dragon Armor Removal, Sea Cucumber, 1688, Premium Dry Leaning Shrimp 1688, First Grade Steamed Tofu 1688, Yam Vegetable Pancake 1688. Looking at this list of dishes, Jiang Hai felt that he was really too naive. These ingredients are not very bad, but they are not particularly good either. There is no top-notch Asiatic wing or top-notch two-headed abalone, but they are sold for 1688. It is up to you to eat it or not. This is no longer a problem of cheating foreigners, this is a problem of cheating foreigners to death. Jiang Hai did some calculations in his heart. For people like them, if they ate until they were full, it would be difficult for them to leave this restaurant without 30,000 or 50,000 yuan. Fortunately, Minister Qin was paying the bill today, so Jiang Hai wouldn't be polite. Minister Qin was also very calm. Although the imperial court did not allow public funds to be used to eat and drink, this was still money that needed to be spent. After all, Jiang Hai had helped the imperial court solve a big problem. Minister Qin was also very calm. After all, Jiang Hai helped the imperial court solve a big problem. Therefore he does not need to spend this money. Soon the dishes that Jiang Hai ordered were all served. In fact, it is not only Jiang Hai's first time here, but also Qi Li and others' first time here. After all, very few people would treat people here. If you go to an ordinary seafood restaurant, what can you eat for tens of thousands of yuan? The lobsters are as big as you want, the abalones are as many as you want, and the sea cucumbers are as long as you want. It is not like here where the stingy dishes are so expensive. Therefore, after seeing the price of these dishes, they are secretly speechless. Even if the price is changed to dollars, these things are too expensive. How can a dish cost nearly $300? This is like eating gold bars. However, when the dishes were served, Jiang Hai was quite satisfied. At least it didn't look bad and it smelled very good. Out of curiosity, he also took a bite with his chopsticks, but this bite made Jiang Hai immediately narrow his eyes. Delicious. There was really nothing much to say. It was indeed delicious, truly delicious. Every dish had its own unique taste, which was very much in line with Jiang Hai's taste buds. Not only could the original taste of the ingredients be magnified infinitely in his mouth, but the juice that was concocted was also indescribably fresh. This might be the secret of the school's dishes that were not passed on. That is why it is so valuable. This kind of taste was purely due to the chef's craftsmanship. Chapter 446. The car quickly drove out of the capital. Of course, the capital's urban area was very large, unlike Ice City. Although it was the largest city in the inland, only smaller than Fog City, but Fog City was next to the Yangtze River, the urban area was particularly small. Out of the city center, it was basically the urban-rural fringe. Further north, even some villages could be considered as part of Ice City. Although the capital's area was not as large as Ice City, the urban area was much larger. After all, Ice City had not even filled up the area between the 2nd and 3rd Ring Road, but the capital had already filled up the 5th Ring Road. However, this time Jiang Hai and the others did not go to the 5th Ring Road, but out of the 5th Ring Road. According to Jiang Hai's estimation, it was better to say that this was Ji Province than the capital. However, the people here were still using the capital's ID cards. Fortunately, they did not drive to Ji Province. In front of Jiang Hai and the others, a huge building complex appeared. As the car drove over, Jiang Hai saw a banner hanging at the main entrance. It was a warm celebration of the victory of the 17th National Agricultural Products Sales Conference. Seeing this, Jiang Hai's eyes could not help but light up. Agricultural Products Sales Conference. What Jiang Hai wanted to buy, in addition to those expensive things, were the local specialties of Heti. Originally, he thought that he would have to go to these places one by one, but he did not expect that he would be able to do this in the capital. I don't know much about the things inside. I've already arranged for someone to accompany you. When you see anything you like, just tell me. How much do you want? I'll give you the price according to the purchase price. Seeing that Jiang Hai was really interested, Minister Qin also said this with a smile. It seemed that he was not going to accompany Jiang Hai in. Then I'll have to trouble you, Minister Qin. Hearing his words, Jiang Hai did not insist on his company. He smiled and led everyone out of the car. Sure enough, as soon as they got out of the car, there was already a middle-aged man waiting for Jiang Hai. Hello, hello. Are you Mr. Jiang? My name is Sun Yuan. You can call me Old Sunday. Let me introduce you to the things inside. As soon as he saw Jiang Hai get out of the car, the middle-aged man walked over enthusiastically and said with a friendly face, "Then old Sun, let's go in." Jiang Hai glanced at the car behind him and said with a smile. He then followed Sun Yuan into the hall in front of him. Minister Qin, who was in the car, took out his phone and made a call. Yes, just as Jiang Hai thought, Minister Qin was indeed looking for Jiang Hai because he had something to discuss with Jiang Hai. Although Wuxia and the United States were not complete enemies, they still saw each other as their biggest threat. Now that Jiang Hai helped the imperial court solve the oil problem, the imperial court was thinking that it seemed that Jiang Hai's influence in the United States was not small. He even knew Du Feynman. Could they develop Jiang Hai and make him a spy for the imperial court? At the very least, his manor could become a hiding place for their other spies and agents. Of course, the imperial court also knew that if you talked to Jiang Hai about patriotism, politics and self-sacrifice, Jiang Hai would not even listen. Why would he risk his family's destruction to help the imperial court offend the American government in the United States? If this was discovered, his manor would be destroyed in an instant. Therefore, it was precisely because of this that Minister Qin came to accompany Jiang Hai. In fact, he was also testing Jiang Hai. In this world, the imperial court believed that no one was airtight. Jiang Hai must have a weakness, and the first thing that came to their mind was money. They had also done a simple investigation on Jiang Hai. They thought that Jiang Hai could not make much money. After all, Jiang Hai raised cows. If it were not for the fact that the cows he raised were too good, the price would not have been very high. They really couldn't be sold at a high price. An adult cow in the United States was only around $10,000 on average. 20,000 cows were indeed worth $200 million, but there were taxes, labor, drinks, and so on. One cow was only around $6,000 on average. After deducting the $5,000 needed to buy the cow, one could only make around $1,000 per cow. 20,000 cows were worth $20 million. Converted into RMB, it was more than $120 million. The imperial court thought that if they directly gave Jiang Hai $1 billion or $800 million, would Jiang Hai agree? Of course, the imperial court would not spend more than that. After all, it was just a location. There was no need to spend more than $10 billion. However, after seeing Jiang Hai by the Hetian Jade today, Minister Qin knew that this idea might not work. Jiang Hai spent $400 million just to renovate his own room. That meant that Jiang Hai's net worth was at least $400 million. $1 billion or $800 million would not be enough to satisfy Jiang Hai. Money was not enough, and Jiang Hai did not need the privileges in the country. He was not interested in entering the bureaucracy. He had many beautiful women around him. He did not lack women. Money, power, and women. Jiang Hai did not lack these three things. In that case, the imperial court really did not have anything to offer. As he thought of this, Minister Qin's attitude gradually changed. Otherwise, he would have followed them in. But now Jiang Hai did not care. If he did not say anything, Jiang Hai did not need to refuse. It was simple. The exhibition hall behind Shanghai was in Tianjin City. Tianjin City was also one of the municipalities. There were a lot of specialties. The most famous steamed buns, pear, fried dough twists, and radishes, also known as sandnest radishes, are known throughout the country for their crispness and sweetness. This time, Jiang Hai wanted to get some of these things back to grow. After all, there were too few vegetables in the United States. Next was Fog City. But to be honest, the things in Fog City overlapped with those in Sichuan. For example, some tea, hot pot, etc. They were basically the same, so Jiang Hai did not look at them carefully. After the 4 municipalities, it was time for the other provinces. Yes, Huaxia had a total of 4 municipalities. The famous Shenzhen city was a special economic zone, but it was not a municipality. If Jiang Hai did not come here, he would not understand. After the 4 municipalities, it was time for the 3 eastern provinces. The specialties of the 3 eastern provinces were also quite overlapping. Jiang Hai was from Bing City, so he naturally knew that the specialties of Liao province were also found in Ji province and Heilong province. The only thing that they did not have was seafood. However, Jiang Hai did not lack seafood. What Ji province had, Heilong province and Liao province also had. What Heilong province had, the other two provinces also had. The only special thing was the specialties of Xing and territory. For example, the locust fish and flying dragon mentioned before. But Jiang Hai did not lack these things. He walked around the exhibition hall and was interested in a lot of things. But he could not raise most of them. The fungus in the northeast was the best in the world. But the problem was that he did not know how to raise them. The mushrooms here were also the best in the world. But it was still the same problem. He did not know how to raise them. Ginseng was also the best in the world. How can Changbai ginseng and other ginseng be compared? But it was still the same problem. He did not know how to raise them. So, after looking around, he wanted a lot of things, but there were not many things that he could buy. But when he was about to walk through the exhibition hall of the three provinces, he suddenly saw something. Rice. Seeing the rice, Jiang Hai did not know why, but he swallowed his saliva subconsciously. Then his eyes suddenly lit up. Yes, rice. He said that after going to the US, something was missing. Growing rice seemed to be a good idea. Chapter 447. Those who had lived overseas would know that rice can be found in supermarkets in Europe and the US. But Europeans and Americans do not buy much rice. They were more used to eating pasta, which was bread and the like, but Asians preferred to eat rice. When it comes to rice, there are three major rice-producing areas in the world. The rice produced in these three areas is the best. Of course, rice is also divided into different grades and types. Ordinary hybrid rice can only fill one's stomach. The worst rice produced in these three areas is Korean rice. Wuxia's rice is in the middle and Japan's rice is the best. But Japan is only a small place. That's why the amount of rice produced there is limited, and it is very expensive. It's hard to imagine that a bowl of rice with a Japanese electric cooker can be sold for dozens of RMB. It's hard to understand. As for the rice in China, there were two places that were recommended. One was Heilongjiang City, and the other was Liao Province's Jinpan. In the beginning, the rice in Jinpan was specially provided. But later, because Liao Province was an industrial province, the land was heavily polluted. As a result, Liao Province's rice gradually lost its original glory, while Heilong Province, which had always been China's granary, suddenly emerged as a new force to be reckoned with. For many years, it had been the country's #1 grain producer. Just the grain produced in one season was enough to feed the entire country for 3 months. The quality of the rice produced is also second to none. Of course, this also depends on the original rice. Pearl rice is sold in supermarkets all over the country. This type of rice is also the most produced in the Northeast. But to be honest, this type of rice is sold in the villages. If it is not sold, it will be used to feed the chickens. People rarely eat this type of rice. Of course, when the new rice is harvested, they will eat some of it. But it is not the main food. People like Jiang Hai and the rest of the people in Bing City eat Daowaxiang rice. This type of rice is very expensive in the south. Kafko's Daowaxiang rice is sold for more than 80 renminbi per 10 kilograms bag. This is only the worst variety of Daowaxiang rice. If it is a good variety, it will be sold for more than 10 renminbi per 500 kilograms. In the local area, this rice was only sold for about 3 to 4 renminbi. The better ones were sold for about 6 renminbi. In the south, the price would be doubled. But after going abroad, the price was not only doubled, it was 6 times. Jiang Hai bought rice in Winthrop. Korean rice cost $21 per kilogram, northeastern rice cost $18 per kilogram, and Japanese rice cost $32 per kilogram. Although the taste of Korean rice was not as good as Northeast rice, it was more expensive than Northeast rice. However, looking at the price, it was really a little painful. It was $18 a kilogram, which was $9 a caddy. It was more than $50 a caddy. He had a peaceful attitude towards life, and he didn't have any ambitions. He was living a very happy life in this grassland. He also felt that time passed very quickly. After about 10 days, the river channel was completed. Jiang Hai's river channel was handed over to Hert Charles, and it was very reliable. The entire river channel was 4 meters wide. The widest part was 4.5 meters and the narrowest part was 3.5 meters. The depth of the river was 1.6 meters. Because there was still 10 centimeters of sand, the sand was all from Jiang Hai's beach. Some of it was from the sea while some of it was from the beach. Jiang Hai's beach was very rich in sand. After all, there was a group of parrotfish raised by Jiang Hai. These parrotfish were specialized in producing sand. They only needed to pave the river channel and they didn't sell it. Naturally, there was no problem. The two sides of the river were made of concrete, and they were about 30 centimeters higher than the other side of the river. On the river channel there was a small bridge every 300 meters. They were all made of wood, but the inside was also made of reinforced concrete. According to Hert Charles, these small bridges couldn't be destroyed even if there was a real flood. On the two sides of the river channel there was a man-made track. It was like a 400-meter track in a normal university. It was made of rubber, but it felt good to walk on. It was good for running, but it was a bit hard to take care of. But Jiang Hai didn't want to throw garbage here, so it didn't matter. The road was about 2 meters wide. Every 10 meters there was a street lamp. Under the street lamp there was a trash can and benches. Looking at this design, Jiang Hai couldn't help but laugh. Hert Charles really wanted to make his place into a park. But it didn't matter. Anyway, Jiang Hai didn't need to pay extra. These were all gifts from Hert Charles. On the other side of the path there were rows of trees. They weren't valuable trees. Most of the trees in North America were red maples. Because the wood here wasn't valuable, at least not as valuable as in China, these trees were directly dug out from the Alabama mountains. It didn't cost too much. However, it brought a new screen and scenery to Jiang Hai's pasture. After all these things were done, Charles began to dig out the spring that had accumulated for a long time. The water from the 5 springs gushed out together, forming a torrent in an instant. Just as Jiang Hai was wondering if these guys would rush out of the river bank, Charles Hart's ability was also revealed. This stream of water actually followed the river's shape and flowed into the sea. After half an hour, the river gradually calmed down. Under the sunlight, the surface of the river was sparkling, and it was really beautiful. The next thing to do was to bask in the sun. The river water that had just emerged was still very cold. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was bone-chilling.